Imagine what you could do with an extra 20% in pay over the next year. Would you be able to live more comfortably? Would you be able to be more satisfied at work and feel like you're truly valued for the skills and all the experience that you bring to the table? Or perhaps now you can be in a position to allocate more money towards your savings and your investing goals. Whatever your motivation, increasing your income over the course of your career can unlock a multitude of options for you. But let's be honest, it's important that we have a holistic conversation with ourselves when it comes to increasing our income. What do I mean by that? Well, coming from someone who has 10x their income over the course of 17 years, I can confidently say that taking an active management approach to my career development not only helped me unlock advancements in my career and my income, but it allowed me to work in areas that I was good at and I actually enjoyed, which was super helpful when it came to career fulfillment, longevity, and being able to put my hard-earned money to work in more and more investments over time. So in today's video, I'm going to cover my 6-step framework on how to actively manage your career development. I'm going to share with you 5 careers and industries that you can explore, especially in today's rising working remote environment. And it's going to help you get your foot in the door at maybe some larger companies or organizations so that you can have more career options and potential for advancement. And if you stay to the end, I'll share with you the exact template that I use to pull this detail together, and I'm going to fill you in on a special event where you can see this discussion and 23 other powerful personal finance topics specifically curated for busy parents who are interested in raising generational wealth. Hi, my name is Stefanie, a debt-free millionaire living in Portugal with my family of 4. I spent over 15 years in tech as a planning and forecasting expert who turned my personal and professional experience into my work with the Women's Wealth Effect, a women's focused personal finance brand that is absolutely obsessed with helping other women and their families understand how to invest and actively manage their income to unlock a life on their terms. I am so excited that you're here. Welcome. So let's get into it. So why in the world do we need to actively manage our careers? Isn't that what managers and companies are for? Helping us along? Well, if you ask me, managers and companies are focused on 2 specific things: getting the right people on the right teams and in the right roles, and delivering results. And as a former global director in tech, specifically in the supply chain, I could say with a straight face that the delivering results part gets in the way a lot. Or I even saw instances where there were some leaders that didn't prioritize career development conversations. So that highlights even more how important it is for you to get in the driver's seat and demand these conversations to happen in an active fashion. Trust me, if you aren't doing this, other people are, and they're benefiting from it. So when I talk about actively managing your career, what do I mean? Well, this is where my 6-step framework comes into the picture. We're going to talk about understanding your desired path by creating an actual individual development plan tailored to you. We're going to talk about being self-aware, aka knowing what you excel at or any areas for improvement that you need to work on. We're going to talk about understanding your experience gaps, having a clear set of objectives, having an action plan, and getting constant feedback so you can continue to improve on this process over time. So let's talk about laying out your desired path. When you start working for a company or an organization, it's really helpful to understand career progression and what options are available to you. And if you're watching this and saying, well, that simply isn't an option at my company, that absolutely could be the case, or it could be a matter of having the conversation in the first place. So let's say that you start off, let's say, as a social media assistant for a medium-sized company, and you have a few one-on-one conversations with other team members, maybe a couple of other leaders. You get bonus points if you can network with your leader to get a skip level discussion with their manager. And now you can ask questions to uncover what types of career paths there are at the company, and potentially even in the industry more broadly, what skills you might need to have to be successful in pursuing this career path, and be able to actually develop an opinion for yourself on if this path is something that you're truly interested in. So in this example, I researched what a career path could look like in the social media space. I used Glassdoor to go get some initial salary range information and what the salary range potential could look like for these various roles as you advance. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to stick with this path, but you have the opportunity to pivot your skills over time as well. And that's what we're going to use as a starting point for our conversation today. So you can see here, entry-level roles for social media, an assistant, maybe even an analyst. The income ranges are here as well. Then we move into more advanced individual contributor, coordinators, producers. Then we go into a more advanced role, a strategist. And then as we look into maybe leadership, this could be a frontline manager, a second line manager like a director, or if you decide to get into some type of executive role, this could move into more of the broader marketing space. So now that you have this information and have gathered some of your initial research and one-on-ones, I want you to fill out your IDP section in 3 specific parts. What are you doing now? What do you want to be doing in 12 to 18 months? And then what do you see yourself doing in 3 to 5 years? Okay, so in the next step, I want you to take this time to self-reflect on your strengths and your opportunities. You may have to ask for some feedback, maybe from your manager, to gather some of this information. You may need to work with your leader, create a survey, poll some of your peers and maybe your stakeholders, but this is going to help you understand areas that you're really good at and some areas where you might need some help and support, fine-tuning, or simply getting more intentional about getting exposure to these areas. Step number 3 is listing out some of your experience gaps. And what I want to be clear about is this is not the part where these are your opportunities. These are in general areas that you literally have not experienced yet, but this is stuff that you may need to experience in order to get to the next level or take on additional scope. This section is great for leaders who are having organizational discussions or chatting with their other peer organizations about talent, aka you, because more often than not, opportunities come open all the time across businesses where someone needs to find the right person for the right role. And I'd say that 60% of the qualifications need to be met, and the other 40% can be gaps that someone can learn safely on the job. Remember, you do not have to be 100% ready for a role. You need to have a mix of experience and demonstrated ability to learn effectively so that you can get up to speed. Step number 4 is setting out your objectives. And here I want you to strike a balance between your career skill objectives and your personal ones. So if you're in the learning and skill acquisition phase, let's say early in your career, then I want you to get clear about that. If you're in a phase where you're practicing leadership skills, maybe to move from individual contributor to leader, frame that appropriately. Or let's say you are in a career resilience stage for a couple of years while you manage something at home. Maybe your objective is to do high quality work and maintain your role. Now, step number 5 is where I want you to establish an action plan. That could be anything from work or a project that you're working on to highlight a strength or develop an opportunity further. You can have an action plan set up to talk to a specific person to develop your career or identify more areas that you explore. You can list out trainings or certifications that you need to complete in your specific domain. You name it, but this is my requirement for this section. If you put down an action plan, this needs to be something that you can actually do and accomplish in 3 to 6 months, then revisit and revise and reiterate on this process over time, okay? Now, step number 6 is where the magic happens. I want you to take this document and I want you to shop it. I want you to shop it with your manager, your mentor, other trusted team members, anybody that you feel like would give you active and honest feedback. And this is where you can actively start creating a brand and a voice for what you want in your career. You can start showing proof of your work, and I want you to better advocate for yourself to get to the next point in the career that you really want. Now, I get really excited about this part because this is where I have reviews with women in my investing program, and they start to really ideate on how they can increase their income, and they really start to get excited. Why? Because there's power in knowing what options are out there in terms of your career that you're really excited about pursuing. And there's even more power in advocating for yourself. Some may say it's manifesting, but I really believe that this works. Okay, so more often than not, whenever I share this strategy, I get feedback on, I'm not sure this type of advancement is available in my industry. And in some cases, that can be true. So if you need to pivot, the really cool thing about this day and age is that remote work has become more and more normalized. And so what does this mean for you? This means that there's more opportunity for you to get your foot in the door at companies that you may not have had access to before, but you do now. So bring all your skill and experience to the table. Here's a list of 5 industries with various remote jobs, and the top 2 on the top of this list are where I started and navigated my career simply to get my foot in the door, and then I started to work to actively manage my career forwards and upwards. Number 1 is tech, The second one is sales, and this can go across multiple industries, customer service, marketing like social media, and writing and editing. You can go onto websites like Glassdoor, Ladders, or Indeed and start doing some research on available jobs. You can start looking on LinkedIn to make sure that your profile is up to date. You can reach out to your network and see if they're going to have a 30-minute discussion with you about your career goals, because you never know what type of connection could be made simply by having an active conversation. So we're going to take a look at my actual IDP here shortly. It was one that I had created back in 2017, which was 7 years ago, because this is 2024. But before we do that, I want you to see the real result of my 17-year career timeline. And in sharing this, I want to also acknowledge that this takes time, but it really pays off whenever you get intentional about demanding real career development and feedback along the way. So first off, in 2006, I started off in the jewelry industry in an entry-level procurement job. And while I learned so much, through my one-on-one conversations, I realized that upward advancement out of the 30K-ish salary range was going to take a really long time. So I pivoted into tech, into an entry-level sales role. From there, I used this specific format throughout my entire time at the company. And by using this template, I was able to organize my thoughts, my skills, where I wanted to go. I pivoted 2 times within the company. I kept building on my skills. I eventually moved into leadership in 2017, which allowed me to unlock a role into Singapore as a global director and an expat. But it didn't stop there. Increasing my income wasn't the sole goal. It was getting intentional with my career and my income plan. We were now able to save and invest more and more over time, allowing us to pay off of $420,000 in debt, become millionaires at the age of 37, and it gave me the opportunity and confidence with our now financial independence plan to leave my tech career and teach more and more women how to get intentional with their career, their income, and their investing strategy to unlock a life of their dreams. So I want to show you the exact copy I used in one of my discussions in 2017 and a little bit of background. Like I mentioned, I was a senior manager at that point, and I knew the next level, getting to director, was managing other managers, expanding my responsibility globally, and then focusing on something that was more transformational in nature, transforming something at the company. These are the things highlighted in red. Now, at the time, I was working for an amazing manager. His name was Chuck, and I had no idea that he was leaving the company. But just because he left didn't mean that my progress career-wise stopped. We were at a leadership dinner right after he had announced his departure, and he was taking the opportunity to do his best to help people get in the best position to continue advancing their careers. He introduced me to our chief supply chain officer and said I had been doing great work with the Singapore team because he knew I wanted to explore a role in Singapore. Then a few months later, I attended a training with that chief supply chain officer. We got to know each other a little bit more. So you can see how the network and the associations are starting to come together. And then 6 months later, I got a call requesting if I was interested in moving to Singapore because my skills matched an opportunity, my gaps were something that I could work on to get into the next role, and everyone knew that I was up to the challenge because I made it known through my IDP, and my leader continued to advocate for me. So there you have it. This is my 6-step framework on how you can start taking action today to actively manage your career development simply by clicking the link in the description below and downloading the template that is ready for you. I will also be sharing this topic along with 23 other amazing personal finance experts at the Raising Generational Virtual Summit. It is free to attend. It's going to take place May 2nd through the 4th, 2024. And if you're a busy parent who's looking for something more comprehensive to help you get rid of your financial overwhelm, this is a great option for you to attend for free. Your exclusive link is down below in the description for you to sign up as well. I'd love to hear more about what types of careers you're in, how you feel after you've put this together. Plus, I recognize that every other industry is different, so feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for spending time with me today, and I hope that this discussion and template gave you a little bit more food for thought on how to give yourself permission to be wealthy.